Hello and welcome once again to P3 Odisha Cricnewzz. As usual, we always have something for you to look up to, and today it is all about the very important third test match between India and Australia. The series it has gone in a direction that nobody really expected. To start with, Australia won the first test against the expectations of the people, and then when the second test started, it was again a situation where people didn't expect India to win, and the expectations were overruled yet again. So for the third test, what I've done is I've stopped expecting, and we'll find out what Babasish has in store with us. We have with us Babasish, who is a young sports journalist. So welcome to P3 Odisha Cricnewzz, Babasish. Your debut with us today, and I won't ask you how you're feeling because you've done a lot of good work in the recent times. Straight away, tell me your opening thoughts on the third test match.
It's important, very crucial. Now, I had this feeling before that all these Shakespearean epics, they have that first act being, that's the exposition. And this is where the conflict begins, and hence the battle against spin. The second act is where there is a comeback, and there's something that happens unexpected, and that was the Indian win, the heroic win, the historic win. And now we come back to the third act. Now this is where the climax begins, this is where things happen quickly, and the actions that happen now cannot be undone. So if India goes on to even get a draw, they'll still have a threat to retain the Border Gavaskar trophy. So it's crucial for India that they get a victory here.
Yeah, in fact, if the Indians draw, they will still have a chance for the Border Gavaskar trophy. That's exactly what Babasish was trying to say. On the other hand, what happens is if Australia goes on to win, then they do not, in fact, they have a chance, they retain the trophy, they get it completely, because even if India wins the fourth test match, it will still be just a draw, and that's not enough for India to clinch back the Border Gavaskar trophy. A lot of Shakespearean intonations here, and pretty much like it. I've been a big Shakespeare fan myself. What a good note to start the show with. So Babasish, we'll talk about what is going to be the pitch like, the Ranchi's pitch.
Now as I was going through the stats, now in the last 4 ODIs, the spinners have claimed 24 wickets. And it is expected to be a slow turner.
Yeah, because of the cool climate and the black soil.
The black soil, and that's going to hold up a little longer, unlike the last 2 tests that we have seen. But more importantly, now because the pitch is a slow turner, do you think it's advantage India?
Very tough to say, because these days what is happening is we saw that with England, not recently but in the recent past, that the Indians tried to prepare good turning wickets and they themselves fell prey to it. Same thing happened in the first test against Australia, almost happened in the second test against Australia when Lyon came in and picked up 8 wickets in the first innings, and it almost
thanks to Pujara and Rahane and Jadeja, and we just hung on there.
Yeah,
and we got through. Talking about the team combinations for this time, there are 4 changes. We'll first talk about India. Murli Vijay comes back, shoulder injury, he's a natural selection, he comes back in place of Abhinav Mukund.
Absolutely, I'm really surprised, and I'm pretty sure even Abhinav Mukund would be surprised playing for India again. And after what happened in that test match, I don't see him playing for India colours ever again. Might be sounding a little too harsh, but
it is a little too harsh, but that's how you are. We'll go on to the India's problem with 6, 7, 8. Now 6, 7, 8 have done brilliantly in the home series. Against England, they average about 105. Against New Zealand, their average was 65. But in the last 4 innings, they've only accumulated 40 runs, and there is the issue.
Absolutely, I mean Ravi Ashwin hasn't got runs. Ravi Jadeja, he gets runs at times. Somehow Ravi Jadeja has not been able to, force himself into the side as a batting all-rounder or as a bowler who can bat quite a bit like Ashwin. So that's another big problem. And Saha, he was the key person who used to get these runs at 6, 7 and 8 against New Zealand, against England. He hasn't clicked this time around, so that's a big problem.
Now having said that, do you think then Kohli will persist with Karun Nair and they won't think about the third spinner?
Probably, because so far in this series the problem has been the batting. So I won't be surprised if Karun Nair is persisted with, because Kohli might want that extra cushion of an extra batsman. And you never know. Murli Vijay might come in and bowl some off spinners himself, and you've got Ravi Jadeja and Ravi Ashwin.
The Kohli isn't a great fan of part-timers, unlike MS Dhoni that we have seen.
Absolutely.
He loved part-timers. Moving on to Australia, though, again, forced changes for them. Mitchell Starc, that's one of the bigger issues. Mitchell Starc is being ruled out because of a stress fracture, in fact, and the replacement is Pat Cummins.
That's an interesting replacement. I wouldn't say it's a man for man, like for like replacement, because Mitchell Starc, he comes in with raw pace, and Pat Cummins is pacey. There's a lot of movement in the air. Pat Cummins is more of a swing bowler, if I'm not wrong. And the other thing there is the biggest difference. Mitchell Starc being the left armer and Pat Cummins being a right arm bowler. Now that left armer, what he used to do is, of course, he used to bowl and give Australia a lot of good overs. But even when he was not bowling, he was doing Australia a favour, because he was producing those footmarks for Ravi Ashwin, the off-spin, beg your pardon, Nathan Lyon.
He was almost the Ravi Ashwin for them.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So he was giving the footmarks for Nathan Lyon to come in and bowl those off-break,
fast turning off breaks. Also, what it does is it's a change in mindset. Now, Starc has been playing for a while. He was in form. Now, Pat Cummins is making a comeback after 6 years. This is only after he picked up a 4 for 57 and a 4 for 47 against South Australia in a Shield game, and that's the only reason they've got him back. So there's a change in mindset as well. A seasoned campaigner and someone who's making a comeback after 6 years. So that is, again, I think that's advantage India.
Possibly, but then not to forget Pat Cummins, the only test match that he has ever played, he was the man of the match in that test match, so that can be a threat as well. And the other big replacement is that of Mitchell Marsh. Now here's where the Australians will be a little confused. The same kind of confusion that Virat Kohli will have, it's the same with Stephen Smith as well. Whether to get that extra batsman in the form of Usman Khawaja or get in a spinning all-rounder in the form of Ashton Agar or
Glenn Maxwell. Good terms for Maxwell, Louis. He's got the captaincy, he might get another test go. But if they don't, they have another option, and that is the leggy, Mitchell Strachan. Remember, the Queenslander picked up a 4-wicket haul when India A toured there last time.
At Brisbane, that is?
Yes, that was at Brisbane. Pretty sort of orthodox bowler, tosses it up, gives it a lot of air balls, wicket to wicket. So that's not a bad call.
Now, Babasish, I've not seen much of him, neither heard much of him. Does he have a googly as well?
He has a googly, but he can pick.
Okay then, so
that's what I feel. So I'm a left-hander.
Yeah, so leg break googly bowler and an unknown entity. The Indians have a tendency to give an unknown entity too many wickets. Now that might be the only test match where that bowler picks up wickets like Jason Krejza, but then these things do happen. So if I was Steve Smith, I would say, okay, this match, if I win it, I'll go in an aggressive frame of mind. And let's go in with the leggy.
And then, having said that, you just mentioned that the ground is a much bigger ground, and so leg spinner will have a little bit of cover towards those cow corner region. Now, these were the forced changes, and now we know what is the likely 11. I'll ask Nishant, I'll play the ball in his court. Whom do you think are the top performers for India's? I'll ask you to name a couple of them from both the sides. For India, for Australia. Go on.
For India, I'm really looking forward to a Virat Kohli knock. I think it's pretty much due. 4 innings without a good score, Virat Kohli unheard of. So this match, you never know, you might see another double 100.
Yes.
And if that happens, then I'll become Nostradamus of the modern age. And I think apart from Virat, I wouldn't be surprised again if Ravi Ashwin gets a lot of wickets.
Okay, because you have mentioned those two names, I'll go two different. I'll go for KL Rahul again. He's been going with great guns, good form, so good luck KL Rahul. And Ravi Jadeja, he's a superstar.
Yeah, absolutely. And our Luke is pretty much inspired by Ravi Jadeja.
Yes, and Dhawan, who isn't there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now for Australia, your 2 picks.
Australia is a tough call. Big game, you need big players to fire. Now, I have a feeling that whoever makes a comeback into the side in place of Mitchell Marsh, whoever it is, it could be him.
He has to play.
Yeah, who will perhaps play a big role in Australia. And I think the other one has to be, you play safe, you go with Steve Smith. So you can go with Warner.
Yeah, I won't go with Warner, with Ashwin going overall on him. I'll go with Steve Smith though, and I'll still put my money with Nathan Land. They've persisted with him, and if it turns, then he's Australia's best chance.
Absolutely, Nathan Lyon can do wonders, but I somehow have a feeling if I was Steve Smith, I would go with this leggy Swepson.
He loves Swepson.
Yeah. I love the art of leg spin bowling. It's a dying art, it's a tough art, and leggies are definitely talismans in any team. So yeah, that's about it. I think we've pretty much touched all possible points in this particular preview of the third test match between India and Australia. And thanks a lot, Babasish, for joining us. And we'll definitely look forward to more such encounters between the two of us. Right then friends, that's all we have for now. India taking on Australia tomorrow, and it is going to be great fun. Do join all the action wherever you can, on whichever platform you can. But for interesting updates and interesting bits and pieces like this, do not forget to like P3 Odisha Crick News on Facebook and stay connected with us. Till we meet again, it's goodbye from Nishant. Do take good care.